All right, so the second thing that I want to advocate for is like a proper and healthy approach to diagnosis for people of every cultural identity. And that's not something that we have going in the US right now. I am in school, graduate school, to become a counselor right now. I'm a year in, and so I'm starting to get into the DSM. That's the Diagnosis and Statistical Manual for Mental Health Disorders. It's hugely problematic, I'm finding. And the biggest problem is that it's had all these different versions and changes, and every time that a new version has come out, it's been chaired by a white male. So this whole thing that we use to classify diagnoses, to say what is mental illness, has been created by one culture in the US, and it's white men. The ones who have created a lot of these structures for these systems of control, organizing, and yes, absolutely dictating the outcome for individuals and creating labels and things like that. Even the idea of having a label and saying that a person could be wholly defined by something like that is normative to that cultural perspective. And it's not normative to all cultures. And even women and also people of, like as they framed it, the American Psychiatric Institution Association, it's called, but they made an apology to what they termed as BIPOC people. So that's for Black, Indigenous, people of color, so that would include people maybe of Latinx identity, and they made an apology and they said, you know what, we haven't treated you well. Through this institution, we've been biased and we're looking forward to creating something different. Okay, that's great. There was no formal apology for people of LGBTQ identity in any way whatsoever, nor to women, or acknowledging the male dominance in the mental health field and the creation of these institutions in America. Why am I becoming a counselor if I have all these views? It's because I have faith, and this is where I'm being guided. And even though I don't agree with the way things are being shaped as they are, I want to have a voice in how they are, because I do believe that counseling is extremely effective and healing and needed. And so this all needs to come to the surface, and the way that I see it is that the DSM needs to come back to the drawing board and have multiple perspectives of people come in and speak to how this needs to be reshaped where it fits other cultures too. The way that a test for a psychiatric disorder or et cetera, could be reframed, or rather how it is framed, is going to dictate how a person's able to respond to it. This is fascinating. So, did you know that schizophrenia used to be framed as the black man's disease? Now, why is that? During the civil rights era, black men were disproportionately diagnosed with schizophrenia. And do you know what were the symptoms? Well, of course, there was paranoia of there being racism against black people during the civil rights era, when these men, and women too, but this focus for the data that we've collected is on black men, were speaking up and saying, hey, there's racism, guys. And then there was paranoia, and then there was delusion. The delusion was the other one, was that, oh, there's a delusion that there should be change. So paranoia that everybody's coming, that there actually is oppression, which, yeah, now we understand there was oppression for sure, and delusion of there being a better future. So those were symptoms at that time. Schizophrenia medicine was marketed to black men, and they even had a sign where there was like a black man holding up his hand, and it was called the protest diagnosis. So that's just a little hint. Now this oppressive system that was being headed up by white men maybe didn't feel too good about there being equality. So then it was framed in this way. Did the apology that was more recent, only in the last couple of years, mention that specifically? No, it was just generalized. But there's more. So homosexuality used to be classified as like a disorder, as something unwell about a person in this very exact DSM. Then they took it out. But there still are practitioners who are biased. And so there was a case where this woman said, oh, I don't agree with your choice of who you want to be attracted to, whether, you know, a homo, whether there's an LGBTQ feeling of this person or whatever. And that person who then left, it caused damage because her therapist was saying something so destructive against a part of her identity. It's a part of her culture, a part of her, who she's shaped as a person and who she's expressing in this world. And in that case, the therapist did not win that case, the client won. So there's so much happening, and there's so much of a need for more conversation, more advocacy. There is not enough of this. I was trying to write about this in my class, and I couldn't find any resources supporting that all the chairs who created the DSM were white men. So there's not enough scholarly evidence about this. There's not enough of people going into these deep dives and discussion. There's certainly not enough overt conversation about it. It's challenging. I'm telling you, I'm a white person. It's challenging to go deeply into our implicit and explicit biases and things that have happened in the past like that. It hurts, but it is necessary, and it's necessary for healing, and it's necessary for healing in the field of mental health as an umbrella. There has not been enough justice in the way that we've been working with people who need help. And you know, I even have experienced this because I've been doing a lot of work with myself and healing, and to take a test and to really not even be able to come into that that cultural perspective that's so narrow, it's very confusing, and the result is absolutely not valid. There's far too much of that happening in the DSM, and this is something that I'm being forced to study as a counseling graduate student, and it's something I'll need to be using. I suppose I'll have to look further into it, but in order to classify what people are presenting with when I connect with them in sessions, and I'll have to be using these codes for insurance. And this is a system that is created by white men that is very biased, extremely biased. Like, why am I having to bend my more expansive, more understanding perspective of what it is to be people and to have multiple cultures and different parts of our identity and the beauty of diversity? Why am I having to try to fit myself into this keyhole of this DSM and try to work with this when it's clearly so broken? So we all need to be talking about this, and I hope that this advocacy does something. I'm just gonna keep saying stuff, and then hopefully somebody does something, and hopefully I'll be able to do something. I don't know, I'm just noticing things that are problematic in society that like really should be very easily solvable. And I believe in us as a cultural community in this country of America that we want ultimately to do good by one another and to advocate for one another and to be fair and just and loving to this community of this country, and to speak truly. So please feel free to comment anything, and do, you know, if you have something you want to link, please link it in the comments and stuff like that. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.